Hello, everyone, and welcome to our semifinals here from the StarCityGames.com Season 3 Invitational from Atlanta. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, we are here in the booth. Nick Miller is down in the Future Match area as we prepare to watch Jacob Baugh on your left against Adam Snook on your right. It's not Aetherworks, it's Black Green Aggro. Baugh, your number 3 overall seed, so he will be on the play, and we are underway here as Baugh will start things off in the Evolving Wilds. For Adam Snook, it's a Blooming Marsh, and for me, Patrick, it's an interesting matchup here. Baugh, as I imagine, has gotten through many Black-Green Delirium decks here this weekend, but Black-Green Aggro, maybe not.
It's a tougher matchup, to be sure. You know, the more ponderous draws of Black-Green Delirium, the slower starts without much disruption, with a little bit floated on removal. You know, those are the type of draws that Aetherworks really chews up, and Snook's a lot lower to the ground, a lot faster, and I think that's the recipe you need for this kind of matchup.
A Servant of the Conduit here for Jacob. He gets 2 energy, and we'll head back over to Snook. Again, Snook's deck list has a lot of aggressive elements to it. It also has a little bit of removal there in Grasp of Darkness. The likelihood of Servant of the Conduit living in this matchup, very low.
Well, it's a lot better than it was certainly against Joe Bernal, who has had 4 Murder, 4 Deadweight, 4 Grasp of Darkness in the main deck. Snook only with 5 pieces of removal, if memory serves, 4 Grasp and 1 Deadweight.
Here's another Servant. 2 more energy, and we'll see if this one is going to survive as Baugh will pass the turn back over to Snook. Snook with no real pressure just yet. He does have some 1-drops here in Gnarlwood Dryad, some 2-drops in Scrap Heap Scrounger, Smuggler's Copter, and Grim Flayer. So he does have the ability to pressure his opponents, and he's got some bigger plays as well in Mind Rack Demon and Virtuous Gearhulk.
And Virtuous Gearhulk, another tool that Snook has that Bernal did not have. Bernal going with Ishkanas instead, and in this matchup, just more numbers, more pressure. That's what the Black-Green Aggro deck is in the market for. That's what's important in this matchup. So Virtuous Gearhulk for Snook will be a lot more powerful for him than Ishkana was for Bernal in the quarterfinals.
For now, Snook with a Catacomb Sifter and an Eldrazi Scion. Jacob Baugh is going to play his main deck copy of Sigarda. Well, well, well. We will take a look at that one to be sure. Sigarda is one that really plays a huge role in the mirror. Can be found via Traverse as well. But right now, just a 4/5 flyer is good on this board.
And not an easy card for Snook to remove. No copies of Murder in the list. It's just 4 Grasp with 1 Deadweight. So this card's a little tricky.
4/5 flyer, you and humans you control have hexproof, and you can pay 2 mana and exile a card from your graveyard to put a 1/1 white human soldier creature token onto the battlefield. See how Snook wants to work through this. He's going to attack with both of his creatures. A little bit interesting here, simply because dead weights, plural, could work themselves into the equation, but also this could just be a grasp.
Yes. It also is a really good spot for Snook to bluff as well.
Now, at the end of the day, it is Grasp of Darkness that Snook does have. Going to make that into a smaller creature, and Catacomb Sifter will get the job done of taking care of that. Another point of damage will come across too from the Eldrazi Scion. Now Snook is going to cash that in and scry. Top card's going to go to the bottom. He's got a colorless mana floating. And now he has a Smuggler's Copter.
Really interesting decision there for Baugh to block, but I think there's a twofold logic there. One is, if Snook is on Grasp, he can simply grasp the Servant also, so it's not like he's turning that card into a dead card. Also, that spot is really attractive for Snook to bluff. So I think you have to call there a percentage of the time regardless.
Jacob Baugh going to tap a bunch of mana here. He has a Chandra. It's going to start on 4. We'll see where he wants to take the powerful Planeswalker.
And these were the kind of spots where Bernal was in huge trouble in the quarterfinals. When he didn't have an advanced board and Baugh played one of his Planeswalkers. You can see here Snook is much better set up because of cards like Smuggler's Copter and just having more threats in the deck generally.
Baugh's going to take care of the Catacomb Sifter. We might even see the Servant come across for 2. Might as well, right?
I mean, if you're not blocking, you're attacking.
So here that comes, pass that turn back. Snook will draw. His deck has a lot of creatures in it, so it would not surprise you to see him be able to turn on the Copter here. Looks like a Grim Flayer is going to allow him to do that, so he will crew the Copter. He will attack. There will be time for him to draw and discard.
And this is what I was speaking of before, these Planeswalkers that were so problematic for Bernal. I think Snook will be much more able to consistently manage.
Well, he's already taken care of 1. Snook just deciding what he wants to discard. He's going to go with Liliana. 3 types in the graveyard right now. He'll play a swamp. And we'll see if he's going to want to play anything else here, if he's just going to want to pass the turn back. He does have another grasp in hand too, but I think we're just going to pass back over to Baugh. He'll draw a card. Well, the deck is called Aetherworks after all, but we haven't seen much of it from Baugh actually throughout this top 8.
And when he's had it, it has not been good.
There's a forest for Jacob.
So did Baugh miss a trigger somewhere along the line? Because he's played 2 Aether Hubs and 2 Servants.
He's had to use a little bit of it. There was a turn where...
correct, yeah. He used Servants for mana.
Yeah, a couple of turns he's had to use that. Servant will die to a grasp, and now we're going to head back over to Snook. There's a Mind Rack Demon. Scrap Heap Scrounger is an artifact. Deadweight is enchantment. Delirium is online now. He'll use that demon to turn on the Copter, and now this is going to be an attack for 6. Time for Snook to draw and discard. If Snook is able to break serve here, it's a pretty big deal.
Definitely. I mean, he's got to pick one up on the draw at some point regardless to win this match.
And he's going to see him connect there for 7. And now... And we're going to take a look at the top couple with Grim Flayer.
And with a Blossoming Defense in hand, Snook isn't even in that much trouble against Ishkana. He can power right through that. I mean, there's some chump blocking and it'll take some turns, but it's not like he'll be locked out of combat. And that was another problem that Bernal had. He didn't have pump effects, and his creatures weren't sized well enough to reliably push past Ishkana.
Baugh will draw. I think he's in some trouble this game. He'll play Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot. That's 3 more energy. That's 3 more life. We could see him do that yet again in just a little bit.
That card looks a lot worse when it's not eating up multiple turns.
Here's another Mind Rack Demon. Trigger.
It's not even worth 1 turn at this point.
Crew and attack. Baugh is going to sacrifice the Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot now, get 3 life, go up to 18, but he's going to fall a lot lower than that. Snook is going to draw and discard Smuggler's Copter, and there goes Gnarlwood Dryad. 4, 8, 9, 10, 11 is going to bring Baugh down to 7. Play a land. I think Snook may have missed the Grim Flayer trigger, but with the last card in hand being a Blossom Defense and a Forest available, I think he still might just be fine.
Yeah, I think we are about wrapped up here. Emrakul isn't really worth very much, and Ishkana off the top would be a turn or 2 maybe, but really wouldn't stabilize this board.
Yeah, that is going to do it. Adam Snook's going to win game number 1 here over Jacob Baugh. Black-green aggro going to break serve here against Naya Aetherworks. Pretty impressive stuff there from Snook. Now remember, first 2 games pre-sideboard, the last 3 games with sideboard, so we won't take a look just yet. But you said it. In order for him to win this match, he's probably got to break. I mean, he has to break serve at some point, obviously.
Right.
It's a pretty good spot to do it in his game number 1.
And you can see the differences that we talked about before we got into this match of Snook's build versus Bernal's build. They all manifested right there. Planeswalkers were quite a bit worse. Snook had a lot more pressure, and those were the vulnerabilities that Bernal exposed a little bit there in the quarterfinal match in the games that he won. When Baugh was behind, it was very challenging for him to stabilize.
I don't want to say I'm not sure how well the deck catches up, because it is a deck that has Ishkana, but in that situation, the Planeswalker is trying to use those to catch up. That's kind of off the table.
Right, and it's often a 1-2 combo that's required, too, with Aether Marvelworks in this kind of matchup. We talk a lot about, you hit an Emrakul and then suddenly life is good. Against the really redundant beatdown decks, that's not necessarily the case. You really need the pairing of Ishkana alongside Emrakul to make the battlefield clogged enough so that when you Mindslaver their attack, they lose a lot and they can't do anything on the follow-up. In that spot there, Emrakul would have done very little. It would have swallowed up 1 attacker, and then Snook could have just powered right past it. So Baugh is going to have to assemble both of those cards in the matchup, most likely to really set up the good Mindslaver attack.
Well, both players are going to take a look at their 7 cards here. Jacob Baugh will be on the play once again. Didn't work out well for him the last game. We'll see if things end up a little bit better for him this game. Adam Snook sitting comfortably in the lead, and it looks like he will take a mulligan. So he'll be taking a look at 6 cards, and as he does that, we're going to talk about the feature match area here on Twitch, which you can certainly join today. You get the opportunity to decide the quarterfinals whenever we do have our opens next year during 2017. Plenty of them coming down the pipeline. Custom emoticons and badges for you to use. It's only $4.99 a month, or you can use that kind of new Amazon Twitch partnership subscription as well. Twitch.tv/SCG Live is the place to be to join the feature match here on SCG Live. We want to thank everyone who's already done so and is continuing to enjoy those benefits. We just ask that you stay polite out there.
Keep it clean, keep it classy. It's really not that hard, in spite of evidence that suggests otherwise.
Yes. Snook will keep the 6. He'll scry. And he'll leave it on top. And away we go. Game trail, revealing a forest, and traverse. We'll see which land Baugh wants to search up here. He'll go with the basic plains. Again, not hard for his build of Naya to be able to get to all 3 colors.
Yep.
He has Traverse and Attune. He also has Aether Hub as well. A Hissing Quagmire is where Adam Snook will start.
There is a little bit of an opportunity cost. Chandra is double red, and Baugh doesn't always have double red on 4. Vessel of Nascency is quietly a double green card. You'd like to be able to play and activate. There's been a couple times where Baugh hasn't been able to do that because he hasn't had the second green. But the mana has been reliable for the most part.
Servant of the Conduit here from Baugh. 2 energy given. A forest and a scrap heap scrounger there from Adam Snook. Aggressive elements, well, he's got plenty of those as we head back over to Baugh. He'll draw. We know he's got at least the plains in his hand. Looks like some more lands, however. And there is that plains. And now here's a Marvel. He's got to use an energy to play it, so he's got 1 energy left to pass this turn back over to Adam Snook. Snook will draw. Taking a look at Snook's deck list, this is not a card he can get off of the battlefield.
Yeah, it's just there. Though Baugh's got a lot of work to do to get up to 5 more energy from here.
Another Scrounger here. And we're going to head over to Jacob Baugh.
If he has Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot, it's very easy.
Yes.
Otherwise, it requires stringing together multiple cards.
Jacob will play a Vessel. He will play an Evolving Wilds, and he's already on his way there now. Between Servant maybe having opportunity to block, cracking an Vessel, cracking an Evolving Wilds, well, that's a lot more energy.
Yep. Gets him up to 4, but that's still short.
Snook will attack here.
And it also means he's really all in on the first Marvel activation, bringing up something good.
Yes.
It's not like he has the cushion here to just keep spinning if he happens to miss.
Jacob's going to start by activating his Vessel. Take a look at the top couple of cards. 2 Marvels, an Emrakul, and an Aether Hub.
Well, he needs energy, and the rest of these cards aren't doing a whole lot, so I imagine it's Aether Hub unless there's something really weird going on with his hand.
Hub it will be, it appears. Yes. The rest are going to go to the graveyard. So he's up to 2 energy now. See if Baugh has any interest in doing some blocking. Looks like the answer is yes. Going to jump in front of a Scrap Heap Scrounger. Those will trade. Servant will go to the graveyard, so an energy is given. The follow-up here for Snook is a Mind Rack Demon. It's been very important for him to have that card. It's a very good one in this matchup.
Yep.
Nothing too relevant put into the graveyard. He does have Artifact, Creature, Land, and Instant, however, so Delirium is online. And some Scrap Heap Scroungers to get back from the graveyard. Baugh up to 4 energy after he sacrifices an Evolving Wild, so he's going to dig a land out of the deck. It'll be green or red mana, and he's going to go with red.
Baugh also on Delirium at this point, so Ishkana is a big draw. But again, still needs some help. Still needs to pick up some energy from somewhere.
It has Enchantment, Land, Sorcery, and Creature in the graveyard, does Jacob.
The Aether Hub we know about gets him to 5, but that's still short, and he has no way to get anything on the battlefield into the graveyard for that 6th energy.
Chandra may have been the draw. He'll play Hub up to 5. And Ishkana with Delirium is just about as good as it gets.
That's perfect both for stabilizing and for forcing Snook to plow through the Ishkana and the spiders. That's going to trigger the Aetherworks Marvel a bunch of times. That gets him up to 6 energy, and he gets at least 1 shot at it.
To Snook we go. Well, the Gearhawk might change some things.
Okay. Well,
He'll power up the Mind Rack Demon and the Scrap Heap Scrounger, and here we go.
a lot of risks come along kind of with this line of play in terms of opening up yourself to an Aetherworks Marvel activation, but this is what the card Snook has allows him to do. And you're also only giving him the one crack at it.
I like the double block here to get the Scrounger off the battlefield. Makes a lot of sense to me. It's a 5-4 at this stage. This will give Baugh 2 energy. He's going to take a real punch in the face in the air.
Well, he's getting 1 energy off of this because this is not enough to kill both spiders.
Very true, very true.
But he only needs the 1. It doesn't really matter all that much.
Looks like we're going to see a block here as well. A spider jumping in front of the Mind Rack Demon to save a little bit of damage, it looks like.
Yep.
I think the thought process might be, I might not get this opportunity later. Some of those stray removal spells might take out those spiders.
Exactly. You know, playing against someone with grasps and dead weights, if you happen to miss on the Aetherworks Marvel activation and the leftover in his hand is removal, you may not get an opportunity to chump block down the line.
I'm curious, however, if there will be any other blocks. It looks like Baugh is just going to go with this. Ishkana will bite the dust up to 6 energy. And now will Baugh spin it now? It looks like he will. So top 6, let's see how he does. There are, of course, a lot of big hits here, and I think he found the best of the bunch, my friends.
Yep, there is an Emrakul.
There it is.
And the battlefield is pretty sticky here.
Yes, it is. This is where he wants to be.
Right, and he has a Chandra left over in his hand to take care of the Virtuous Gearhulk if he's feeling so inclined. Then you have 1 creature against your sea of blockers. Really good position.
Baugh will play a Forest. You mentioned Chandra. I think we're about to see her arrive. We do. Going to take care of the Gearhawk, fall down to 1 counter. And I'm not sure if we'll see an attack with Emrakul or any of these spiders. But this is obviously a very, very good position here for Jacob Baugh.
Well, I like sending in the spiders. It's basically a freebie because you have the Emrakul back on defense against the Mind Rack Demon that you could force to attack, and still can't really play anything else.
I do like the opportunity here for Baugh to say, I'm going to activate your Hissing Quagmire and double block with spiders. Like he can,
Sure.
He can do a little. He can also just activate the Quagmire and deadweight it now.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
There's some good stuff to do here for Jacob. Most Emrakul turns look like this.
And the 3 points don't really matter a whole lot here.
Yeah.
He's going to wipe them out here and be able to wrap it up pretty easily from there.
Baugh going to activate a Hissing Quagmire and deadweight it. Had a feeling he would do that. That Mind Rack Demon is going to make a bold attack. It will bite the dust. Emrakul will eat that. And Baugh says, that's good enough for me.
Yep. Now it is your turn.
All you have to do is beat a 13-13. Here's a Mind Rack Demon.
Love him soldiering on here.
Oh, you got to play it out.
You got to play this
Top
out.
4 of the tournament, man. You got to play it out. Baugh will untap. It's time for him to draw. Jacob obviously in very, very good shape right now, but you just want to make sure I don't do anything stupid to lose this game.
Yep. Maybe a second Emrakul in hand, which I believe Baugh can cast by pausing the Chandra for mana.
We've seen him make that line of play before. +2 here. Yep, there's another Emrakul. Yep, Adam Snook says, we are all set. Jacob Baugh going to tie things up here against Adam Snook. It's 1-1 between Naya Aetherworks and Black Green Aggro. Now we get to go to the sideboards, and we're going to start with Adam Snook, who is on the play here for game number 3. He's got 2 Ishkana Graph Widow of his own, 3 Kalitas Trader of Get, 2 Deadweight, 3 Transgress the Mind, 2 Lost Legacy, 2 Natural State, and a Flaying Tendrils. A little bit different than what we saw from Joe Bernal, but I think a lot of the plan remains the same.
Yeah, he isn't nearly as redundant for this kind of matchup because he doesn't have nearly the same number of dead cards that Bernal had in the quarterfinals. I like the Transgress the Mines, and I like the Lost Legacies here. Maybe you shave out a little bit of your top end of creatures, maybe you shave out a little bit of removal, but Snook's going to be sideboarding a little light here. The Natural Estates and the Flame Tendrils are for other matchups, and I wouldn't want Kalidas or Ishkana in my deck.
For Jacob Baugh, it's a very similar matchup to what we commentated on a little bit earlier. 3 Kozilek Return, 3 Tireless Tracker, a World Breaker, another copy of Sigarda, Heron's Grace, 3 Tears of Valakut, 2 Natural State, a Nissa Vital Force, and an Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger. You think his sideboard's somewhat the same?
I mean, he's got a sideboard a little bit different here, I think, because he's playing against a much faster deck. So the Nissa Vital Force, for example, that we saw Baugh bring in against Bernal in the quarterfinals, I think may stay on the sidelines here. You could talk me into the Kozilek's Return, the Tireless Tracker, maybe the World Breaker as a little bit of a hedge against Lost Legacy, and if you feel like you can slow the game down, something that's fine to hard cast. But I think he's going to want to keep his deck a little bit lower to the ground than we saw against Bernal because Snook's deck is much faster.
Well, those are the options there for both players. Snook is already shuffling up and getting ready to go, so he's got a sideboard plan in mind for this particular matchup, while Baugh might be sorting a few things out. So while those players do take a moment, we do want to remind everyone that the first week of January, Star City Games will be hosting a Grand Prix over in wonderful, and I want to make sure I say this right, Louisville, Kentucky. It's a little bit of legacy action. We got some cool playmats, we got some cool tournaments, and we've got more information for you right now.
On January 6th through the 8th, make plans to be part of Magic the Gathering history when StarCityGames.com proudly presents Grand Prix Louisville. Register by December 9th for the Legacy format main event to compete for thousands of dollars in prizes and receive an exclusive playmat featuring Legacy staple and Kaladesh invention, Lotus Petal. Select the 3-day Infinite Challenge package to compete in all challenge events for one low price, while also walking away with the exclusive Lotus Petal playmat. All Friday challenges are also Grand Prix trials. Come out early and compete for buys in the main event and more chances to claim a Lotus Petal playmat. Prefer 100-card formats? Register for the Ultimate Commander package to play in 4 Commander on-demand events and take home a Commander vs. playmat and Ultimate Guard Flip and Tray deck case. And don't forget to come say hello to Grand Prix Louisville's many special guests, including cosplayer Christine Sprinkle and an artist alley full of fan favorites headlined by guest of honor Rob Alexander. Be part of Magic the Gathering history. Register for Grand Prix Louisville today.
January 6th through the 8th, Grand Prix Louisville. Come and hang out, meet some awesome artists, get yourself a Lotus Petal playmat and a whole bunch more.
You battling?
Oh, yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You going to dust off the Entombs?
Most likely.
Okay.
Most likely, yeah. Most likely a reanimation strategy. So Jacob Baugh, do you think he's ever been called Baugh with the Baugh?
I bet someone's made that joke.
You think so?
And I bet he either rolled or narrowed his eyes a little bit, let out a little bit of a sigh. Maybe he said it audibly, maybe it was just inside of his body, and his day was a little bit more sad as a result.
A little worse?
That's my guess.
You don't think Baugh with the Baugh makes the day a little bit better?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm we're on the same page about that. Looks like Snook is going to head on down to 6 cards. For Jacob, the 27-year-old from Waterloo, Illinois, 11 open top 8s, 2 open wins, and his first invitational top 8 here this weekend in Atlanta. You know, we said in the last match, and I think it's worth repeating, not the loudest guy, not the biggest personality in the room, but from week 1 of 2016, this was the goal for him and all the members of Team Card Hoarders to get to the Players' Championship. And there's a couple of them headed that way.
Yeah, and congratulations to him. I'm sure he and the rest of his teammates are very, very excited about this accomplishment. And you can just see the resume, 11 top 8s, 2 wins, and now his first invitational top 8. Just a great year for Baugh.
It's been fun to just watch him as a player just grow over the past handful of years here on the SCG Tour. This, thus far, his crowning achievement. And hey, 2 weeks from now, that could be even bigger for him.
For sure.
But I know a goal of his was to play among the 16 best in the SCG Tour at the end of the year, and he's going to get the opportunity to do just that 2 weeks from now as he starts things off with an Evolving Wilds. But Adam Snook could be joining him.
And my biggest critique of Baugh as a player is, having watched him play a lot of matches, he's occasionally a little fast and loose and gets a bit sloppy with his operations. I think if he cleans that up he has the potential to be one of the best players on the tour.
His hand here from the Transgress, you'll find an Ulamog, a World Breaker, a Servant, a Harness Lightning, a Kozilek's Return, and 2 Forest. This hand strikes me as maybe a little fast and loose.
I think this hand plays.
Yeah?
You know, you have a threat to play, you have a removal spell, you have the sweeper. Yes, you would prefer not to have both the big O's in the hand, most likely. Maybe just one, maybe 0. That doesn't feel like a mulligan, though.
I would bet a lot his first draw step was Ulamog.
Yeah, that's
or
World Breaker,
yeah,
right.
One of the two. What did you call those, big O's?
Some big O's.
Some big O's. Okay. And he's going to take Kozilek's Return. That's gone for good. And Baugh will sacrifice the Evolving Wilds. I feel like to get a mountain. Yeah.
I like the word lug a lot, too.
Lug is good.
Use it to describe. It's one of those words you can use to describe Magic cards or people, which
True.
I really like.
True. I prefer doof.
Yep.
Baugh will play a Forest. Here comes the Servant. 2 energy on the way. Now, it felt like, when we watched earlier, Baugh against Bernal, that Baugh shaved down on some number of Aetherworks Marvel. Perhaps he just didn't draw them in the long games that we saw, which would be a little bit strange. But it felt like he either shaved them entirely and certainly shaved down on some number.
And here I would be more inclined to leave them all in. Snook has less discard he's bringing to the table. And just on top of that, you know, Baugh could win the game just with a Planeswalker on a stable battlefield. That's a much harder recipe to put together against Snook because he can just put a lot more stuff onto the battlefield.
Catacomb Sifter here from Snook. He's got his 1/1 Eldrazi Scion as well as we head back over to Baugh. It's a Forest. This is a Vessel. And Baugh will pass the turn back over to Snook. Snook will draw. See how Adam wants to move forward here on his 4th turn of the game.
It appears as though his hand has Deadweight and Virtuous Gearhulk. The Gearhulk's a little awkward here because he knows about the harness. But in theory, he could just load up on the Gearhulk if he's feeling so inclined.
Good. It's an option.
You can kind of see Snook thinking here, all right, I can make the safe play of just Deadweight and attack and set up Gearhulk for next turn, or do I just let it rip?
I always love to let it rip. He's going to play a little bit safer here. He's going to come in with the Catacomb Sifter.
And if he's doing this, I imagine it means he's just going to load up on the Gearhulk.
Well, the thing is, loading up on the Gearhulk isn't exactly safe. Yeah, because there's a trigger, and you have to decide what you're targeting. Yeah, so this isn't exactly the safest of plays. Yeah.
Right, maybe a split is better here?
Well, Jacob has Harness, and he has 2 energy.
You got to chop this up.
Yeah, so... I think this works in Jacob's favor.
Oh, this is really good. I mean, trade a Harness with a Eldrazi and a
yeah. This is really, really good for Jacob. A bit of a misstep there from Snook, I think.
Yeah, I think that needs to look something like pre-combat. Do this, put 2 or 3 counters on the Sifter and 1 counter on my Gearhulk. He has an incentive to put more on the Sifter because of Nahiri being a way to get the Gearhulk off the battlefield. But in any event, that loading up on 1 there plays right into the Harness.
Also, I think we had no Scry from the Catacomb Sifter Eldrazi Scion. He may have Scryed, may have missed it on our end.
And this is another interesting thing. You can see Baugh is approaching this matchup a little bit differently here. We saw no puzzle knots against Bernal. He was trying to play a totally different game. If Baugh has left in the puzzle knots here, it means he's left in much more of the combo, or at least that's my guess.
Well, we've seen the second puzzle knot here off of the Vessel, so those are back in the deck.
And we saw 0 in 3 relatively long sideboarded games against Bernal.
Correct.
So even though these are both black-green decks with a lot of the same cards, Baugh is approaching the matchup much differently.
Snook will play a Hissing Quagmire. He's going to come across here for 2 with the Catacomb Sifter, and now here is a Deadweight to take care of the Servant. And that is it for Snook's turn. So not a great past couple of turns here for Adam as we head back over to Jacob.
Yeah, I think Snook may have just forgotten a little bit about both how Virtuous Gearhulk targets and the functionality of Harness Lightning.
He'll come across here for 2. Baugh's got a lot of life to work with, though. Mind Rack Demon could change some things in this game, so there will be a trigger. Blossoming Defense among those cards. Scrap Heap Scrounger probably the most important of the bunch.
Yeah, that's quite a find here.
Yep, and he's got the land to play as well to get back the Scrounger, assuming there's creatures down there, and we know there's at least one Gearhulk, so he can rebuild his board pretty quickly here. For Baugh, we're going to head back his way. I think we might see him blow this. Yep, get 3 more life, push himself back up to 20. And now the big question is for Jacob, as he has 6 energy, is where's the Marvel? He'll draw a card. That's not it.
And we know his hand was charitably described as a little clunky earlier on in the game.
It was full of big O's.
Some big O's.
Yeah. Snook is going to get back the Scrap Heap Scrounger from his graveyard. He will exile a Grim Flayer. Now it's time to untap and draw. Looks like he just picked up a land at Snook.
I think contemplating whether or not he wants to load up the Quagmire into a potential Kozilek's return. Still looks good enough to me, because you can still get the Scrounger back.
Well, here come the Knuckleheads. We'll take a look and see what Baugh wants to potentially do here. There's Cozy's return. Not the end of the world.
Yeah, this is fine. He gets a scry or 2 for his trouble. The Scrounger comes right back.
Yep.
That's why I like firing up the Quagmire here. I don't think Kozilek's return is really all that bad.
Snook will leave the top card on top from the scrying. Baugh's going to fall down to 14. And Snook will pass the turn back. Baugh will draw. The interesting thing about this spot for Jacob, he's got some really good draws and some truly terrible ones.
And also look at the lands here. He does not have access to double red. Chandra's off. He doesn't have a Plains. That means Nahiri's off the table as well. And he can't cast 2 copies of Harness Lightning in the same turn also.
Here comes Snook. Harness Lightning.
And I'm not sure how I feel about doing this now as opposed to at the end of Snook's turn when Snook was tapped out. Because if he has Blossoming Defense there, it's a catastrophe.
It's very bad if that's the case. That is for sure.
I mean, it's an extra 6, and the Demon's still there.
Snook is going to scry the top card to the bottom here. Remember, whenever another creature dies, it's like Catacomb Sifter. Snook gets to scry a little bit. Now here's another creature in Grim Flayer, so Baugh will draw again. Now if he draws Marvel, doesn't do anything. Ishkana always does something, though. And she has arrived. 3 spiders in tow. Back to Snook we go. Big draw here.
Could really use a Gearhulk.
Wouldn't be bad. Gearhulk typically pretty good.
It's one of the best ways for green aggro decks to plow through Ishkana. Pretty hard to beat this card with removal spells, but pump effects can be really powerful.
Here come the Knuckleheads.
Love it.
We'll see how Baugh wants to block here. Now, if you're Baugh, you do have to worry a little bit about Grasp, but you're also in a sideboarded game. You might think to yourself, okay, well, you know, would he have Grasping after sideboard? That'd be a little bit strange.
Well, I don't know. If he left in Deadweight, there's a good chance he's left in Grasp.
Remember, he's got 1 Deadweight main, 2 in the sideboard. Not sure he would bring any more Deadweights in.
Right. But he's shown some commitment to cheap removal, so
Yes,
you have to respect it here.
I think of these creatures, the one you want to get off the battlefield the most is Grim Flayer.
Yep. I mean, it's the best of the bunch, and it has Trample to boot, which makes future blocks complicated and makes Virtuous Gearhulk a much more threatening draw. So if you can get the Trampler off the battlefield, that's a good place to start.
Makes you wonder what the follow-ups are in Snook's hand, however. Did he draw a Grasp here? He's reaching for his hand now. I think he may have. I just don't have. You have to worry about Blossoming Defense. You have to worry about Grasp. He's going to order the blockers. Actually, you don't have to worry about anything. So, 2 scries. 1 to the bottom. Next one to the bottom. Follow-up, Copter. Snook will pass the turn back over to Baugh.
That felt a little, with nothing going on there, that felt a little early for an Alpha Strike to me, especially when you're drawing to Virtuous Gear Hulk.
And Baugh will draw and play a Servant of the Conduit. 2 energy up to 6 now.
And a Mana Fixer too.
Yep. Fixer and acceleration, all that good stuff.
Yep.
Scrounger going to come back, exile the Grim Flayer. We'll head back over to Adam Snook. Time for him to draw a card.
Because it's not like Snook was in crisis mode last turn.
Not just yet.
He didn't have to just get some spiders off the battlefield or make a desperate attack. The waiting game wasn't all that bad. I mean, we know Baugh's hand is a little soft. We know it's just a lot of expensive creatures right now. Maybe he was hoping that his attack is so threatening that he's bluffing something that could get Baugh to miss block.
Here's an Gnarlwood Dryad. Well, he's just going to keep coming in here. I mean, he's kind of...
Right.
It feels like he's made this decision that I'm going to play this game this particular way. Here come the attackers. There will be a trigger here from the Copter. Snook will discard a forest, just left with a land in hand, it appears. Some blocking to be done, it looks like.
I mean, he can double up on the Sifter with his 2 creatures and put his Kana in front of the Copter, and looks pretty good to me.
Looks like Baugh wants to go about doing things this way.
He may really value Servant given how expensive his hand is right now.
We know he has World Breaker.
Right. This is respectable too.
There'll be a Scry here. Top guard to the bottom. Also, World Breaker should bring back Cozy's Return.
Oh, there you go. Yep, then that's... Then that looks really good.
Yeah. We're going over to Baugh. He'll draw a card. A tune. He'll play that, get a little more energy here, will Jacob. Probably going to search for a mountain here. Go with the plains instead, fair enough.
Again, I think Snook kind of playing this game like he's got a bunch of bolts in his deck that he could finish the game off with. But with something like Virtuous Gear Hook, when you're just a little bit behind on the battlefield, I feel like you can hold up.
Fair enough. Looks like Snook has just drawn and said, let's go. I'm getting in here. The only thing that can really happen here is it feels like blocks look straightforward and all that good stuff. You always have to worry about Blossoming Defense and Grasp.
Well, here's what's nice about this attack from Snook's side is the only thing for Servant to really do is go in front of the Scrounger, and that's great.
Yeah.
Get the Scrounger right back.
Harness Lightning's going to go after something in combat.
But it can't block the 2/3 or the 3/3 profitably.
Yeah. It's going to go after Gnarlwood Dryad, maybe. Jacob's not really sure what he wants to target with this. He knew he wanted to cast it, just wasn't sure what he wanted to do with it.
Yeah, I think Baugh's play from last turn is a little too risky for my taste unless he has 7 mana already rolled up. I think it would have been fine to double block the Sifter. You still leave a Spider left over. You still have Ishkana. You still have a Harness in your hand. You have a lot of time to find that mana.
Harness Lightning's going to take care of that Gnarlwood Dryad, however. Top card's going to stay on top. Now it's time for Baugh to do some blocking. Yeah, I like these blocks a lot.
Yep.
I don't want to lose to random Blossoming Defense. You might make the argument, well, he would have just cast Blossoming Defense to save his creature. Maybe not.
Yeah, the way this works out, I mean, he could have used this Servant to basically trade with the Sifter last turn as opposed to trading with the Scrounger this turn. And that's quite a bit different.
Now, Baugh may not block this way, but I'm okay with this. I want to play as many turns as I can. I also just want to get the Sifter and all that scrying off the battlefield.
Also, if you run no blocks on the Scrounger and he has Blossoming Defense, you die.
You just die, yeah. Now, you might think that he would have just cast it, but no guarantee
I
of
don't
that.
know, but Snook has also shown like a range of bluffing and willingness to make very aggressive attacks in the match already. I wouldn't round down to 0. I don't think it's straight up that he would just Blossoming Defense there in the face of a Harness.
Here's a Vessel. Baugh gonna break a Vessel, it looks like on the main phase as he's organizing his mana a touch. Top 4. Ishkana, Aether Hub. Looks like Tears of Valakut.
Yep.
And then an Attune with Aether. That 7th land is of some value here. You know he wants World Breaker.
Yep.
It makes things a lot easier. It's got reach. It can take care of Scrounger for good or something like that. Like, it's got some value in a spot like this. World Breaker on screen when you get a set.
But it's tough because World Breaker off the top, if you cast it, you can lose just to Verdruid's Gearhulk off the top. Here's an 8/8. It's bigger than your 5/7.
Mm-hmm. And World Breaker Exile, target artifact, enchantment, or a land. Ball's going to take the hub. Play the hub. You get a little energy. And yeah, no attacks. No attacks ever. Not feeling that frisky. Over to Snook. He'll play Gnarlwood Dryad past that turn back. We're going to Baugh now. You notice Snook did not get back the Scrounger. I actually think that's smart.
Very savvy play there.
Because if he gets it back, we know Baugh has 7 mana. He'll just World Breaker it, get rid of it for good. Also, the Scrounger can't attack.
Right.
Now, Baugh is getting in here with Ishkana. And now, okay, makes some sense. Play another Ishkana. Load the board back up with spiders.
Yep. If Snook wants to slow play this a little bit, you can just go back to your second Ishkana. You even have the mana and the access to black mana through Aether Hub to start activating if he tries to really slow play this.
Yeah, and you can see the body language here from Snook. It makes some sense. He's in some real trouble here.
He's approaching getting locked out of this.
Mm-hmm. Might be thinking about the Scrounger now. Yep. Going to get back the 3/2, removing the Catacomb Sifter. He'll draw a card. He's found another land, and I'm going to see an attack. I mean, got to play it out.
Yep.
There's your blocks. Ishkana will trade with the Gnarlwood Dryad. Scrounger 8, a Spider.
Interesting there. No double block there from Baugh. He wants this thing exiled via the World Breaker.
Yeah, which I think makes a lot of sense to me. Now, it looks like he just drew a Marvel. I don't think that really changes things.
Yeah, I think this is still the same play. The Marvel's a little risky to play right now. You can whiff and potentially die.
World Breaker will take care of that for good. No attacks there with the Spiders, playing very conservative, which I think he can afford to do. Don't want anything weird to go wrong as there's a Catacomb Sifter. You're deep into the tournament, you're deep into a game. You may overthink something or underthink something. It's just a lot easier to say, you know what, I'm going to turtle up. I've got the Ulamog, I just drew a Marvel. Don't want to get too risky.
Yep. And it's pretty painful here for Snook. I mean, he came up a little bit short this game. It looks likely that Baugh is stabilized here. He's going to be able to clean this up in a few turns. And that turn with the Virtuous Gearhulk,
it goes back to that.
You have to imagine it was worth a total of 5 points at least.
Especially with Baugh stumbles in this game.
Yep.
Now Baugh's starting to organize his graveyard and seeing what types do I have down there. Never a good feeling if you're on the opposite side of the table. That's why it's not a good feeling.
Yep.
New story.
It's a new story.
It's a new story.
Who knows? Well, it is a new story this time because Snook has a Catacomb Sifter, so he can sack the Scion and scry something horrible to the top of his deck.
Okay.
And then he gets to take his turn and draw a land or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So that's a little different.
That's a little different. That's a little different than the Miracle stories we've seen so far this week. And Jacob Baugh able to get that game here over Adam Snook. He's up 2-1. Snook will be on the plane. You can see the two players talking a little bit. I imagine it's about the Gearhulk play, and Snook just making the error there.
Right.
No other way to really put it.
Yeah. I mean, the how you split up on the Gearhulk there is a little complicated. But you can't load up there with the harness in hand. I think pre-combat you could also just go ahead and dead weight the Servant. The harness probably gets that cast that turn, and then the next turn looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
But Snook there, I guess, with a little bit of uncertainty about how Virtuous Gearhulk and harness interact and how the targeting all works, and as a result, not only a bad card quality loss, but a mana efficiency thing as well.
Well, these players are playing to qualify for the Players' Championship. Jacob Baugh is already headed there because he had one heck of a tournament here, and you see the names and the faces that'll be going to the Star City Game Center in Roanoke, Virginia. December 17th and the 18th. Season 1 brought us Max McVitie, Jeff Hoagland, Jerry Thompson, Andrew Tenjum. Season 2 brought us Liam Lonergan, Tom Ross, Andrew Jessup, and Kevin Jones. Season 3, which we're finishing up here in just a couple of hours, well, that brought us Jim Davis, Todd Stevens, Joe Lissette, Caleb Shearer, Bradley Carpenter, Jacob Baugh, Brad Nelson, and we're not sure.
Still to be determined.
Todd Anderson could work his way in here in a couple of different ways, and once we get to those scenarios, we will certainly talk about them, but none of it matters up until this point. But
I think Todd disagrees.
Todd disagrees.
Todd disagrees. I think he would probably tell you it matters right now.
Todd disagrees. Todd is driving home right now from Atlanta back to Roanoke. It's about a 7-hour drive. I'm sure he's listening to us on his phone and really hoping Jacob wins. Because for Todd to make the Players' Championship, he needs Jacob to win this tournament or Jim Davis to beat Jacob Baugh in the finals. That's it. If he does that, if those things happen, he's got 2 outs to play in the Players' Championship. So Todd was probably happy that the Virgil Gearhawk was targeted by 4 counters.
Might want to, pull over a gas station in South Carolina or however you're driving back and just pull over and watch the next couple hours.
Oh, I think he's making Tom drive. Okay, I don't think he's the one behind the wheel.
Right, yeah.
The boss is driving the car.
That's right.
Both players are going to keep their hand. We are underway here in game number 4 of our semifinals. It's a swamp for Baugh. It's an Evolving Wilds. Let's see what Snook has on turn 2. He's got a creature. It's a Scrap Heap Scrounger. A lot of pressure there. Baugh will sacrifice. The Evolving Wilds, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's sacrificing and not just grabbing his deck at random.
Right. That looks right to me.
Yeah.
Man, Scrounger's really pushed.
It's a good card. It's a good card.
Wasn't Despoiler of Souls a rare from like literally the previous set?
Yeah, not a good card.
Sure, I'm not saying that card's that's the ceiling or whatever. It's just.
Oh, we can take a look at this sport now. Take a look at that.
All right. Well, you lose toughness, and it's way harder to cast, and you also have to exile a second creature, and in exchange you get it's a horror. So that's something, I'm guessing.
In exchange, you get nothing.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
This has a more loaded creature type, too. Construct is referenced in a variety of places.
Also really good that it's an artifact creature.
Now, an artifact can also be a drawback,
True.
so it's not, but...
It's a little better.
Yep.
It's a little bit better. Now, Baugh lost his Servant of the Conduit to a dead weight. Here comes the Scrounger yet again.
Saying, if you were speculating on Despoiler of Souls, you are disappointed with that printing.
Here's a Transgress the Mind. Transgress the Mind here from Snook. He's going to see a Marvel, a Tears, an Emrakul, and a couple of lands. Yikes.
It stinks.
Yeah, it's not great.
That is a stinky hand.
Yeah, I'm taking the Emrakul. That's what I'm doing.
Just cut off the top end. Make him play you straight up.
He's just going to draw a Marvel anyway.
All right.
Here's a Wilds. And we're going to head back over to Jacob Baugh. Baugh will draw. Doesn't look like he drew much. Going to play a Forest. He might just get punched a bunch by this Scrounger here.
Sure.
We could be headed to game number 5 in no time. I will say, as powerful as these Aetherworks decks are, any version of them, they got some awkward draw steps at times.
Yep. You don't get to just tutor for your one draw, for your one of all the time.
Yeah. Sometimes you draw those Emrakuls when you don't want to, or that Ulamog. Grim Flayer, the draw there for Adam Snook. He'll attack for 3 more damage. Baugh going to fall down to 11. The follow-up is a Grim Flayer. Sorcery Enchantment land in the graveyard right now for Snook as we head over to Baugh. Baugh pretty far away from Delirium on his own end, just a creature and a land down there. There's a Vessel. That's not bad. That'll get him an enchantment in the graveyard to work his way towards Ishkana if a lot goes right, as he's going to play a Plains. And I think we might see him crack now. A little risky to crack now, but we're going to see him go that direction.
Yep, cracking into the face of a deck with discard spells. Little risky.
Top couple of cards here. Servant, Nahiri, another Vessel. If he wants to play a Servant, he's going to have to use the hub to do it. It'll be down in energy, but then +2, so +1 overall. And I'm not sure how great Servant is on this board.
It's also pretty risky because it's realistic for Snook to just have a creature removal spell.
Which he has actually in his hand. He's got a Grasp in his hand right now. So he'll go up to 4 energy total. And now there's Grasp to take care of that. So you would think maybe he wants to sideboard out some of the removal here. But that's not the case as we head back to Snook. And an instant being played there is pretty big too, because that's Delirium.
Yep.
And that's Blossoming
4,
Defense.
yep.
That's 4, 8. That's 11 exactly. Well, well, well. Adam Snook will tie her up real quick. They'll be heading to game number 5 here in just a moment.
So something nice there for Baugh. Obviously, losing the game stinks, and not being on your way to the final stinks. But you at least know that Blossoming Defense is still in the deck, and that should really inform some of the timing of the removal spells. Like, there was some sloppiness the last game with the Mind Rack Demon and the Harness Lighting, and now Baugh knows for sure that card's got to be on his radar.
I have a theory.
Okay, hit me.
I hate these servants.
You hate the servants?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess the counter to that is you have to have some amount of early defense for Grimflare.
Okay.
And the removal spells are functional anyway, because -2, -2, and -4, -4 that you're getting from the grasp does help Snook and Spots get the Ishkana itself off the battlefield. Once the 3/5's off the battlefield, your creatures can plow through the 1/2s. It's some amount of blocking and some amount of trading, but the 3/5 is a wall. So those cards I think are going to be pretty good in the matchup anyway.
Okay.
And you know, the ceiling's high. If you can't kill it, it's a race to your top end, and it has the opportunity potentially to block a Grimflare.
All right.
They might stink. I don't know. I see they have not been good in the game so far, so I respect the instinct. But I'm guessing Baugh has worse cards.
I do like him on play, I think, a little bit.
Yep, because at least you're trading his second turn for your second turn.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't have a play on turn 1, then you're pretty happy with that.
Yeah, you're okay with that exchange. Game's like kind of slowing down. It's already in your favor a little bit because you're on the play.
Right.
Stuff like that. I also certainly respect the fact that playing a Marvel on turn 3 is a real thing in this matchup.
Yep, can come up, and it's not the easiest thing for Snook to interact with.
Looks like Baugh is going to go down to 6 very, very quickly. Snook is going to take a little bit of a look at his hand. While Snook decides and Jacob shuffles up, we want to talk about the Aether Revolt pre-release that's going to be taking place here very, very soon, January 14th and the 15th. You can register today and get a limited edition playmat available at participating stores. This is Pandra Nalar, not to be confused with Chandra Nalar. It's a red panda.
It rhymes enough. It rhymes enough.
It does rhyme just enough. Go.StarCityGames.com/pre-release. Find a participating store near you, and when you register today, you're going to get one of these playmats just for showing up January 14th and the 15th at your local Aether Revolt pre-release. Snook is also going to go down to 6 cards. Remember, after this game is over, one of these players is heading to the finals to play against either Ben Friedman or Jim Davis. Jim Davis already headed to the Players' Championship because he is your reigning Players' Champion. Jacob Baugh will be going there too. The question is, will Adam Snook and potentially will Todd Anderson? They'll take a look at 6. Long looks from both players here. Baugh is going to scry.
I'm guessing a lot of Baugh's 6-card hands look pretty shaky, but going to 5 is even worse. There's just no way that you can avoid these opening hands of one Eldrazi or some other weirdo.
He's got a game trail. That is a traverse for Adam Snook. Baugh kept his card on top. Looks like it's a hub. This is an Attune. And now a Vessel. Looks like he's going to search for a forest.
Good opening here for Baugh.
Looks like he's operating okay. We're going to see how Snook is operating. You know, again, he started with a traverse, found a land, so we know he's got more lands coming. And does he have a creature or a discard spell? Turn 2 land pass is not optimal. I can tell you that much.
Baugh's got to be really happy with the opening, though, here. Getting to make his land drops, fix his mana, get some energy, get some selection, get some stuff in his graveyard. Really solid opening.
Smuggler's Copter here from Adam Snook. Always a scary card to play against. Copter's so very, very powerful. There are removal spells that can take care of that thing, of course. Harness Lightning being the main one. There's a hub, up to 3 energy. Kozilek's return's not going to do it, though.
And it appears that Baugh has Marvel Works in hand. You can see it as deployed potentially as soon as next turn.
Okay. There's Flare. Trigger. Beatdowns. Draw and discard here from Snook. He will discard. We're not sure. Scrounger. Okay. Pass it back over to Baugh.
3 card types now in Snook's graveyard.
Baugh gonna draw. Picked up a Plains. Doesn't have to use energy to play the Marvel if he has one.
Ooh.
Sigarda. Gonna use an energy to cast that one. Pass the turn back. Looking to stabilize this board.
Yep. I mean, this demands a removal spell and sucks up some damage in the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, Snook just can't attack.
Yep. Now, there are some things to be worried about here. Blossoming Defense, Grasp, all that stuff.
Right.
But this 4 or 5 flyer, if it's not taken care of pretty quickly here, can really take over this game.
Well, Baugh doesn't even need it to really take over the game, given the way his hand is. He just needs to slow this action down.
Sure.
He's got the combo rolled up here, or at least he'll have one look at it.
Mm-hmm. It looks like it might just be Flare attacking.
So keep in mind that Blossoming Defense puts him at Delirium, because he has an artifact creature and a sorcery in the graveyard.
True.
Also, keep in mind that Snook has made some pretty bold attacks so far in this match. If I'm in Baugh's seat,
You want to take it?
I'm saying there are some players where you know for sure this early in the game they're not going to do anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in Baugh's seat, I have it in range that Snook might be what he's up to. Now, in fairness, last turn he went Smuggler's Copter on 2, turn 3, Flare with a green up. So doing some work to showing Blossoming Defense could very well be in the hand. But bluffing is definitely, if I'm in Baugh's seat, I'm putting that in Snook's range.
It's a good attack by Adam. Bunch of cards going to go in the graveyard here. He'll play a land. He'll play a Transgress.
Okay. So that doesn't work because of Sigarda.
Oh, yes.
How about that Weme?
Yes.
Really good no block there from Baugh.
Really good. Much better than we realized.
That's a nice looking no block.
Much better than we realized. Also makes a little more sense why he played Sigarda first to protect his hand.
A lot of good stuff going on here.
Yeah. That's a pretty nice play.
So I think Snook is not committed to playing it because he announced something.
Yeah,
that
it can't.
If he says
play.
Transgress targeting you, then back it up, put that in your hand.
It's an illegal play there. All right, so Mind Rack Demon instead. Top 4. They're going to the graveyard. All right, Jacob, time to untap. He's got Ishkana and Marvel in hand. That's a pretty good hand. Hub. Energy number 5. Ishkana's not all that appealing right now.
Just put the Marvel into play. Can't get off the battlefield, so.
But can't activate the Marvel yet.
No, because he needs energy off the Servant.
Yep.
But next turn he can sacrifice the Vessel if he's feeling so inclined. That gets him to 6 and he can go.
It's an interesting game. Snook's attack last turn was really good.
Yep.
But if he makes a similar attack this turn, is Baugh going to block? He knows about Transgress now, too, and Baugh has a Marvel in hand.
It's becoming,
excuse me, he has an Ishkana in hand, which is important. Scrounger's going to come back. Comes back untapped, of course. So that means he can suit up the Copter. Yep. And Baugh's pausing him, which I like.
Yep.
Saying I might have Harness Lightning. All right.
But even if he has Harness in hand, I'm telling Snook, come and get it.
Yeah.
Because this attack, everything so far has led up to Blossoming Defenses in my hand, and I want to play over the top in combat.
There's a trigger. Snook thinking about discarding Transgress. I think this turn I want to block with Sigarda.
Yep. Same. It's just card number 6. You can go right away.
Yeah, it's energy number 6. I get to go right away. It's a creature in the graveyard for
Ishkana. Yeah.
I think I just want to block.
Also, I mean, this is a lot of damage to take,
Yeah,
too.
there's also that.
I mean, if you take this hit, you untap your Marvel misses,
Yeah,
or you don't get to Delirium with the Vessel and Ishkana's off the table, you might just die.
Yep.
So I agree. If I'm in Paw's spot here, I think Sigarda's got to go in front of something.
Huh.
Well, this is the same. This is a path here too. Yeah, this gets him to 6 energy because he has to spend 1, but he picks up 2 from the Vessel going to the graveyard and then the Servant going to the graveyard.
Okay.
Just curious to me. I mean, this Sigarda is going to have to trade.
It's got to do something eventually,
with
right?
a Blossoming Defense at some point, and I think Baugh is. I mean, the Blossoming Defense is going to be bad for him regardless. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's in a spot now where if he misses with the Marvel,
it's really bad shape.
Really bad news.
He'll take a Servant.
And he takes what is he? Takes 9 on this hit.
7, 9. Yeah, he's going to fall down to 6. Grim Flayer going to trample over, which is going to control Snook's draw step. Those cards Snook doesn't have any interest in. Does Snook have a follow-up here? Swamp, Traverse. Curious what Traverse finds right now. It's with Delirium.
That looks good.
That's good.
And remember the. Oh no, he already got the Scrounger out, so that's. But he does have the 2 mana up, so if Baugh has some sort of sweeper or removal spell, the Scrounger does come back right away.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot riding on this Marvel activation now.
Yes, there is, and he's going to activate right now. So, top 6 picks to click. Emrakul's the best of the bunch. Ulamog's pretty darn good.
I think we're looking at a whiff.
I think that one.
Or close to it.
I think that one stinks. I think that one stinks.
And I don't know if Ishkana is going to be good enough in the face of a Virtuous Gearhulk plus the size that Snook already has on the battlefield.
And plus a lot of his creatures having trample.
And the Blossoming Defense that we can pretty much assume at this point is in his hand.
Well, if Snook doesn't have it, he's played this game beautifully.
He has definitely played a spectacular game if it is not in his hand.
Yeah, if he doesn't have that, he's played a real hell of a Magic game. 2 energy there from the Servant. Time to draw. Harness Lightning. Can Ishkana stabilize? She's certainly going to try.
Now, the benefit of this is the next Alpha Strike here from Snook. Assuming Baugh is able to survive it, you get another Aetherworks Marvel activation most likely. A lot of his creatures are going to die here chump blocking.
Time for Snook to untap and draw. What's interesting is if Snook doesn't have land number 6, then he can't do the Gearhulk plus Blossoming Defense thing.
Right.
And he's been playing like he has Blossoming Defense all game long. Now here's Gearhulk. Let's see where he's going to put these counters.
I mean, the shorthand here is you would like to get as many of your creatures to 5 power as you can because of the Sigarda and the Ishkana.
Here he comes, trigger. All right, it's all on the table now.
Yep.
There's no Blossoming Defense to worry about. Jacob Baugh's life total is 6. Got to figure it out now.
I'm putting a big premium again, like last time, of getting the Trampler off the battlefield. There's just long-term implications to allowing that to stay around. Especially if he fires in next turn. Again, we're pretty confident about blossoming defense. He could have found a grasp at this point. A Trampler complicates things long-term. The other side of that is he might not have the luxury of getting the Flare off the battlefield.
Well, he can't take the hit. I mean, he can take a little bit of trample, obviously.
Right, but he might not be able to put 6 power in front.
Yep.
Because his most efficient way in terms of toughness to power to get the Grim Flare off the battlefield involves Sigarda plus the Servant.
Understood.
That gets him to a 6-7 in front of a 6-6.
Understood, understood. These blocks don't look bad to me. This would be Sigarda eating something.
Sure.
This would be Grim Flare dying.
Yep.
This would be Mind Rack Demon trampling over for 4.
No points of damage.
No points of damage. You're going to get a lot of energy. You're going to get to spin the wheel again.
And Baugh only loses either Ishkana or the Servant.
Mm-hmm. Baugh going to line some different things up. He can go this route.
Yeah, this is the 6-7 block that I alluded to before.
Okay. This means that he would get to keep a little something here. He'd get to get rid of this.
Yep.
You like this block the best?
I think I prefer the initial block, but this one also looks good.
This has Baugh losing a lot.
Yeah, but he kind of wants to make that happen because of the Aetherworks Marvel.
Okay.
The more that Baugh can generate trades, the better served he is.
And then he ends up taking, on this exchange, 1 trampled. Yes, 1 trample damage.
Where's he taking trample from?
Mind Rack Demon.
Oh, yeah, excuse me.
Yeah. He'll take 1 trample, he'll fall down to 5. Scrounger's going to die.
But Snook doesn't have the mana left over to get the Scroungers back this turn, so it's at least a 1-turn reprieve.
Yep. And this is what the battlefield's going to look like now. 6 energy here for Baugh. Spin the wheel. He's got a lot of good hits.
Yep.
We know that. World Breaker, Ulamog, Emrakul's never bad. I think I may have just seen the Promise End, but I'm not positive. He's got a lot to think about here.
Yep. This is what's pretty, what I like about the Aetherworks deck. There are some draws where you just do your thing and that's the game. A lot of the games become pretty tactical, combat math, creature keywords matter, and so forth, assuming that you aren't just running someone out.
Mm-hmm.
Are you positive? I mean, this is...
I mean, if he's taking this long, obviously I must have seen wrong. Like, even if there is an Emrakul in there, I believe it's worth thinking about, but now I'm starting to believe that there isn't one in there.
He's looking at, it looks just like a bunch of red removal.
Yeah. Now, some of these creatures do have damage on them.
Yep, and Tears can handle, I think he can get the Mind Rack Demon or the Copter.
This is kind of interesting, too, because if there's a Harness Lightning in here, like he can finish.
He can zero it off also. He can get 3 energy and try to re-up next turn, too. There's a lot of different lines.
He's going to finish off the Copter using 2 energy. Okay.
Yeah, one of the spiders went in front.
Yep.
But he's still a ways away energy-wise.
Yep. The Marvel's not been kind just yet for Jacob Baugh. The draw is Attune.
I think Attune gets him to 6.
I think it does too.
I think he's got a Harness and a Servant there, so he can get another spin at this.
Yeah, I would think it through.
Just, hold up.
There's a lot to think about.
Right.
There's a lot to think about.
Well, the big question is, can he get to 6 and kill something? If he has to Harness here for not lethal just to get some energy going, then he really risks losing if the Marvel bricks on him. He probably loses at that point.
Servant. Up to 3. Up to 6.
Here we go.
Yep. Okay.
Here we go.
All right, top 6. 6. That'll work.
That'll play.
Ulamog will play.
Ulamog plays.
Ulamog plays. He hit.
Yep, that'll play.
That'll play. Any attacks?
I'm looking to Ulamog. I mean, you can. I guess there's no.
I mean, I think you're free to.
Right. Yeah. There's no haste or whatever.
I want to get this over with.
Yeah.
All right, Snook is without a board. We're going to go over to Adam now. He'll draw a card. Whew, boy. Jacob Baugh is fighting. Adam Snook wants to close this darned thing out.
But remember, chump blocking really isn't an option here against Ulamog. He doesn't have all that much time. So probably 2 turns here.
We also got to remember there are scroungers hiding out in graveyards.
Yep. But that's all of his mana.
Yep.
I mean,
how much can he do over the course of a turn? All that good stuff. Now, the easiest thing here for Snook to do involves flying.
Yep.
If there's a Mind Rack Demon here or a Smuggler's Copter, flying is a great place to be.
There's at least a shot here because he's only got the 1 spider as a chump blocker. Presumably, blossoming defense is still a thing.
Well, he's just past the turn, so now we're going to go back over to Baugh.
I wonder if the plan here is hope Baugh has forgotten about the Scroungers. That he just sends in an attack for less than lethal, thinking that there's no haste.
Well, he can attack for 16. Here is a tune with Ether.
Because I don't know if there's any way now for Snook to win, because I would assume the 2 Ulamog hits are just lethal without having to connect.
Yeah, just mill 20, mill 20.
20, yeah. I mean, maybe not, it's an exact count thing, but we've been playing several turns, and Snook has done some amount of looting and drawing of cards. I would assume he's at 41 or less, but I'm not 100% there.
Ball's got a forest off of the Attune. 2 energy here. Curious to see what comes next here for Jacob. He wants a count.
Yep. I mean, it's important here if it's 2 or 3 turns.
Yep.
I don't think it ultimately changes very much, but it's at least good to know.
Here comes Ulamog. 32.
Okay, yep.
Plenty. I love attacking with nothing else, by the way.
Right.
No reason to. This is the plan like you mentioned.
He's not killing this thing.
Yep.
And you don't even need to connect. So play it as safe as you possibly can.
Baugh have any follow-up? Nope. Snook going to get back Scroungers. Going to remove a couple of creatures. 3/2s back on the battlefield. Snook's got 3 blockers for 3 attackers. Is there any way for Snook to steal this thing?
Kill spell plus blossoming defense plus bad block. 2 kill spells plus blossoming defense.
Okay.
I mean,
it's asking a lot.
Yeah. I mean, there are hands he can have here that are lethal.
That's going to do it. Jacob Baugh is going to win this match here over Adam Snook. 3 games to 2. Naya Aetherworks will take care of Black-Green Aggro. Todd Anderson is still alive.